Our speaker for our closing keynote is John O'Brien, who's the principal advisor and industry analyst with Radiant Advisors, and he's coming from the Denver area, which I will tell you that he came in a day early because it's a good thing because the Denver airport was experiencing wind and snow, and it's always good to avoid airports with wind and snow and canceled flights. So we are very glad that he is here to tell us about some of the results of his research project into data management, data fabric. He has spent a lot of time doing this research, and we are pretty thrilled that he is here to tell us all the stuff he found out. So John, take it away.
Thank you, Mary Dee. Oop, there we go. Yeah, and I also just heard that it's still snowing today in Denver, so yeah. But I also saw a funny meme with that, which was, I guess that's why they call it May. Maybe it's snowing, maybe it's sunny, maybe it's 70, maybe it's 20. So I haven't been doing this research study for a lifetime, but this one we did run in March of this year. And it's a partnership between Radiant Advisors and this conference. Their other half, which is Unisphere Research. We do joint research work 1 to 2 times a year, not too often. This one we wanted to focus on at the beginning of the year. We talked about, decided what did we want to cover, and what, maybe you guys can tell me if you feel the same way, but I felt like data management's been up on, an uptick. And I definitely, with all the clients and companies I talk to, hear everybody asking about data fabric. So we worked through the survey and the questions, and we wanted to probe into this to find out, once again, is this going to be the marketing? Is this kind of the industry buzz? What are companies really doing? And that was the point of this survey. So we drill into data management and data fabric topics. Like I said, this was run in March. So what you guys are getting is actually a sneak preview of the results. It's the first time. These results will be published and probably sent to you through the Data Summit folks, Information Today, within a couple of weeks. The final report just got issued and is going through some design work right now. But these are the results. Data's data, right? So you can't argue with what does the data say. So the first thing we'd jump into this and say is, very simple. The first slide I wanted to share, let's talk about the budgets. I always say, if it's real, people are going to put money behind it, right? Companies, this is definitely tight times, and people are being very careful where they spend their investments. So here we have companies, and we have 60% of the respondents saying that they have budgeted or they have budget approved. So 60% of the people in this survey that we're going to be looking at all of their answers have actually gone out and gotten their budget approved. Now, no and plan to and no still researching kind of make up the other part. Now, within the budgets, respondents, right, how much are these initiatives? I thought this would be interesting because you can compare it to some of the initiatives at your company. Over $1 million, that's 27%. Equally at 27% is in the $100,000 to $500,000 range. That range is particularly interesting to me because when I look at data management tools or integration tools and things like that, you kind of get into that $200,000 to $400K average price for implementing one of these tools. So that tells me that million and over, maybe some large-scale deployments at some companies, and the 100 to 500 is telling me that they're probably planning to deploy 1, maybe 2 tools this year. So it's followed up just closely in the other ranges you can see there. So what we can tell from our survey right off the bat is the fact that people are putting money into their budgets for data management. That's exactly what it says here, right? Budget to modernize data architecture or data management initiatives. That was the question we asked people. Now, here's the big question right off the bat. Where are they putting the money? Data management priorities. So what are your current data management priorities? And let me explain the way I look through the data. You'll see these kind of 3 different buckets or brackets that I put together. That's where I start to group similar themes. So here in the top 3, increase business operational efficiency, 61%. So the highest priority for data management is business operational efficiency, followed by improving business decision-making and increasing business automation. So between 51 and 61%, this was a multi-choice answer, is really geared towards operational efficiency. That's the first major theme we see data management being applied towards. Now the second one, improve the data culture adoption and self-service data analytics, and then satisfy regulatory and compliance reporting. So that second category there, 40 to 45%, I would call culture and compliance. So, and then here's the surprising one. So one of the things that I hear and I think I'm going to see in these results, so I definitely, kind of designed the questions a certain way. Important for accelerating AI development, important for improving AI development quality, came in third in that 30% range. So one of the things that we keep hearing about all the time is, and we know it's true, that you have to have good quality data to do your AI development, right? And we're saying, oh, that's what's holding back AI development. But this shows that that falls in third, that companies are really focused on, one, their own organization or business efficiency, and two, the data culture of their organizations before they're worried about AI development for data management. So that was an interesting one, because I thought it might pop up. And data culture is not new. Regulatory compliance monitoring, not new. I would have expected those two to be at the bottom, and then the AI one to be up higher. And I didn't expect that the operational efficiency to break out as far as it did. So those were the data management or current data management priorities. Now, the first thing you have to also ask yourself is, what are these organizations like? So, hey, that might sound great for this, survey, but are they like your organization? So here, the people who responded to our survey, the majority of them are what we would call a basic maturity. And if you think about maturity cycles in organizations, here we're talking about an overall data management maturity level. It always starts out in the lowest level being reactive, and then proactive, and then repeatable, and then optimized. And that's kind of the natural kind of maturity level curve. But here, you can see proactive is 41%, and then reactive is another 21%. So 62% of the respondents in the survey are saying that they're in one of these early basic stages of their maturity with data management. Path to optimization is coming in second at 30%, just about. Advanced is about 80%, or I'm sorry, 8.3%. So here we can tell that the answers we're looking at, like the priorities and things like that, are going to be from organizations that are in their basic maturity, are not that worried about AI development, which might seem contrary to what we hear in the market these days. So if we were to, oh, by the way, this is what the weather looked like earlier in the week in the park if you went over there on Monday and Tuesday when it was actually sunny. So what we can just discern very quickly as a statement, we can say most companies are actively building their data management programs and capabilities to improve business efficiency and operations. It might seem kind of basic, but we could have had some other standout results. We could have said it was driving AI or things like that. But here's what we can say. Most companies, like we said, above 60% in these types of categories. So that kind of just gets to the heart of the survey right there. What are the top priorities? But let's go ahead and drill in some more. We also asked, in total, it was over 30 questions in the survey. This was current data management environment. So for a lot of you, you could also relate to, are you inside the cloud? Are you hybrid cloud? No plans to go to the cloud? So we wanted to actually get another feel for the respondents and say, with your data management activities, what types of environment are you looking for? And here we have 33% coming in at cloud preference, right? Their preference is to be, and I also broke this down between centralized and decentralized. Right? Being in the cloud is one thing, trying to consolidate your efforts and your migration to the cloud. Multi-cloud came in kind of third at 16%. So some people are actually planning for a multi-cloud environment. And then the last category, right? I call that resistance to the cloud, is basically regardless of whether it's central or decentralized, there are some reasons why these companies are choosing not to have their data management, current data management environment in the cloud. So most of these, as expected, are moving into the cloud or cloud hybrid environments. Now, this is a big one because I listed out all the technologies. We talk about data management, and data management being more of a, hey, this is, it's a broad term. It's a generic kind of term, managing data. But what does that take? It takes tools like data quality platforms, data governance tools. Here we have management platforms, integration platforms, master data management tools, data catalogs, API type of tools out there, analytics catalog, kind of new on the field lately, security, data prep, data lineage, and at the bottom there, data marketplace, kind of an emerging sort of tool or technology. Data marketplaces are kind of coinciding with data products and data product marketplaces. And of course, none of the above. I included kind of all the results in a lot of these to also show where none of the above falls. So that means that 93% fall into some category here. So number 1 and number 2, 46 and 44%, data quality and data governance. So this is the top tech. Oops, I think I'm losing it. Well, maybe I'm okay.
Make sure you're turned on.
I'm turned on. Oh, well. Okay. So data quality and data governance are kind of the bread and butter for data management, and they took the number 1 and 2 spots for where people are going to be investing in those tools. So we can put that back with the data budget questions and the data planning of technologies in 2024. The second category, data management platforms, and these are tools where people can get in, find data, work with data, collaborate with data. It's more of a kind of a management platform overall. Integration tools, we know those, that's basically our ETL type of world. And MDM tools make up that second grouping of integration and management. And then finally, the catalogs, data catalog and analytics catalog, along with APIs or for access are kind of my group of like emerging technologies. Data catalogs aren't the newest, but analytic catalogs in the last couple of years I've seen, and then of course the API studios or API kind of tools have been coming on in the last couple of years as well. So we can see the technologies, data quality, and I didn't expect data quality to be number 1, is clearly where people are investing most of their data management dollars and efforts this year. And this is, planned for or in use in 2024. So I'm just curious, are you guys also in the same boat? Are your companies kind of prioritizing a data quality tool or program or framework? Yeah. So one of the things about surveys that I like is that when you come to, reading these reports or the closing keynote, you get to find out that, hey, at our company, we're in line with what the rest of the industry is doing, right? We're in line with, because if you are kind of prioritizing different things or wondering, are we the only ones doing it this way, it kind of helps reinforce that. So that's one of the reasons why I like doing surveys, maybe just a couple times a year, and then revisit them next year to see how things have changed. So this is Squishy. I saw him in the park on Tuesday. There are some fat squirrels over in the Boston Commons. So, yeah, and I did name him Squishy. He's my friend. So, technologies that support data quality, data governance, and data management platforms were the highest ranked technologies in use or planned for 2024. That's kind of Squishy's takeaway from all of that section. If we had to summarize it up, you can remember those are the top technology investments going on this year. So we also drilled into this about focus areas, because when you say these are the tools and the technologies, that's fine. People are going to pick those. But why? What are they hoping to solve, fix, improve, focus on? So here, for focus areas, you can see operational efficiency, improve core business processes, enterprise data and analytics, improve employees working with data, which is that culture. So that is our number one kind of category there, which is going to be operational efficiency again, and then data culture and allowing more people to work with data. Now, customer-centric is kind of your customer 360 programs, we want to know everything about customers type of thing, and that actually came in third. So customer centricity is usually hey, we're going to, a business strategy of how we're going to focus and put our technology into. But when it comes to data management, it is overall business efficiency still, and empowering everybody to work with data to help achieve that. So this really does say that in 2024, it's all about making business and companies very efficient and lean and well-oiled machines. Now, risk management, product and service. Now, product service optimization. If you guys were with me on Tuesday in the pre-conference workshop, I kind of showed that I see companies either focusing on 4 categories. One was going to be customer centricity. The second was product or service optimization. You can see that drop down. The third was operational efficiency. We can see that was number 1. And then number 4, business model innovation, kind of came in right in the bottom of this category at 33.1%. So while I see companies always working in those 4 quadrants, you can see in 2024, this is how they're prioritizing them. Oh, interesting focus area for data management. The least focus area, supporting AI centers of excellence. It's not to say it's not important, but it's saying that data management efforts are not focused on that purpose. They'll benefit from it, of course. Now, what I tend to see at companies that I talk to and work with is that AI, at least in 2024 for them, is more of a explorative and kind of test out. And the number one challenge I do hear about there is, what's the use case? So here we're trying to find use cases, and this includes the ChatGPT or the generative AI work along with some of the ML stuff. But in this case, data management and operational efficiency still carries through to different questions. Now, another area I wanted to drill into is, if we want to work with this, and we touched on this in my session on Tuesday as well, a trusted architecture. So how do we build trust with our users with data? And they were saying the number one reason or way to build trust with users is to have data quality. Data quality meaning its completeness and accuracy, showing users, here's the data and here's how its quality is. It's not about saying that it's perfect quality data. It's about saying this data has a quality setting 60%, 80%, 90%, and then you can make the according business decisions with that. So when you have it in that kind of model, you know how to trust this data, how to work with the data if you know its quality ratings. Also data governance, right? Rule conformity, that's how, if people understand, like, the way I look at this, if you're going to work with data, you need to understand it, you need to trust it, you need to know when and how to use it correctly, and that's the governance side. And then master data management kind of came in third, strong third, because I have been seeing MDM kind of move in and out lately and coming back in, and I think it's getting pulled in as part of the overall kind of data management trend that's going on. So with that, we have trusted sources of data, data quality to give me more information, to help me build trust with it, rules and conformity that tell me how to work with the data, and that's what we use to build trust. Now, the second category I had there, the ability to explore the data, which is always kind of funny because we talked about how, hey, I trust that that's what this data is, but can you let me go explore it and see for myself? So I call that semi-trusted, trust but validate, right? So that's another category, and that's one of the weakness areas we were talking about that data catalogs run into, is not having that ability to access and drill into the data itself. Now, data catalogs, lineage, and the ability, the usage information kind of came into that third category. So catalog gives you, information, I call it tribal knowledge, where organizations can see what other people write comments about, give it a 4-star rating or a thumbs up. You can see reviews, you can collaborate with people. We know that when we're buying things or shopping online, that's one of the ways that we build trust in making that purchase decision. So for people buying data or working with data, they need to read reviews. Lineage, people trust data when they know where it came from, what rules it was transformed through. Whose rules were those? And then I was really surprised. This is one of the ones that I would have said usage information. This data was accessed by 1,000 users yesterday versus this was accessed by 10 users yesterday. I thought usage information, which the data catalogs capture, would have been higher in the list for building trust. If you have, for me, it's a relevance factor. If you have a data set that you're looking at that everybody else is using, and if you have this other data set that maybe a few people use, which one are you going to pick, right? But in our rankings, it came in kind of last. So the other question we wanted to ask, and this is a kind of a big chart here, but it was a long list of who is intended to benefit from your data management program. So this we're saying is, hey, we're going to do this data management efforts, this investment, this work. The role we're expecting to benefit the most from this is going to be the data analyst. 53% basically. Senior management and then business analyst. So those first three make up a category, I would say, that data-driven and decision-making roles in the business. So data management programs are geared towards them. Now, data consumers in general is kind of your overall broader organizational usage of data management. And then we get into specialized roles, the data engineer and the data scientist. So here at 35 and 38%, that's a big drop down from the 53% from the data analyst. And then you drop into this last grouping, CDOs, CMOs, COOs, kind of these leadership and strategic roles, except for that one I circled in yellow. Why would a data steward be ranked down there as one of the people least intended to benefit from data quality or data management efforts? It's an interesting anomaly, that we'll probably drill into a little bit more, or I'll look at the data to see what I can figure out. But that one kind of stood out to me as not as expected. The only thing that here's my hypothesis, is that those people don't really need the data management information as much because they're already the experts on the data. They probably already know what it's really about, what's going on in the application systems, all of that. These are the go-to people when you have questions about data. So maybe they're not expected to benefit, and they just happen to fall into this kind of fourth category that I have. That's my current thinking. Now, expected benefits, number one, improved decision making. And a lot of times we re-ask the questions in different ways to make sure we're consistent in what's bubbling up. So here, improved data quality of business decisions, number one. Find data faster, operational efficiency, if you will. Increase consistency in business context about data. That's a little bit of trust and speed. Mitigate risk and compliance, in compliance and security, and understand and trust data faster. So these categories are the expected benefits of deploying. Now, unrelated, we wanted to toss this one in, but I don't really see or think that data monetization efforts is something that would be very related to a data management program. So on the opening keynote, Doug Laney is here, and then Doug talks about data monetization. In this concept or this survey about data management, it's just simply pointing out that there's not as much of a relationship between something like data quality, data management efforts, and data monetization efforts. So I wouldn't say that it ranks lowest. I would say that it's more or less unrelated. Oh, and right across the bottom there where I put it into technological advancements, but enable AI and machine learning models to be deployed faster. Better training data, right? Better feature reduction and working with data, but still, we keep seeing that AI keeps dropping out into that third and fourth category. I think businesses are more focused on what they can control and optimize in their own systems and processes. So which architecture are they working with? So this was something we wanted to cross-check. We also do this survey once a year. So here, and by the way, these results match the other modern data architecture survey, but cloud data warehousing is kind of the front runner, 45%. I consider that to be more of mainstream today or early mainstream. So we know cloud's been around, but most companies are still beginning their journeys into moving into the cloud. Data lakes came in second. So that's an architecture a lot of people are embracing. Third is the lakehouse. So data lakehouse has been holding up its own in that third spot across the board in different surveys. So what that means is it's beating out data fabric and data mesh. But right behind lakehouse has been, and I see these in different surveys kind of switching positions, the real-time unified platforms. Because one of the other things, when we're talking about business being more efficient, we're also talking about it being closer to real-time. Real-time analytics, near real-time decision-making, and a lot of that has been tied together. So those two, as an architecture, are pretty close together. So this is pretty consistent. Most companies, cloud data warehousing, just moving your existing data warehouse into the cloud, you get tremendous benefits from that, from being cloud native and a lot of other capabilities. So there's a lot more to exploit there in its lift. So if I was to summarize this section, I'm pretty sure that's what it looked like raining last night, because I got caught in the rain right outside the Paramount. Companies are focused on operational efficiency and building trust with data. Building trust through data quality, data governance, and master data management primarily. Data-driven and decision-making roles are expected to benefit the most from data management efforts. And cloud data warehousing continues to be the leading modern data architecture for companies. That's a way to kind of summarize all of that data into some things. Now, for most of you, this should sound familiar with what you're doing at your companies, right? This actually just shows you, hey, you're not alone. All right, so the second half of the survey, think about it this way. This focused mostly on data management. Data management overall includes quality, governance, cataloging, all of those features that help companies manage and get people to work with their data more. Now, we wanted to drill more specifically into data fabric. So with this kind of as an emerging trend, we wanted to gauge how people were looking at this and its components. So one of the first things I can do about a data fabric is I can ask people, what is your general impression of a data fabric, right? Because most people on something emerging would say, I don't know it that well. I've heard the term. I think it's this. And I'm going to say, hey, don't worry about that. This isn't a test, or this isn't trying to say, what is the definition of a data fabric? It's what's your impression. And so most people are actually still in the 52% of a neutral wait and see mode. Second category, it's positive, good for IT data management. So right there, those two are the kind of the leading boxes of general impression. Now, how well do you understand it? That's followed at 39% with, I understand it somewhat, and 33% by it's improving. So when we correlate those two together, we can say the high percentage of neutral impressions, like 52%, could correlate to a general lack of detailed understanding in data fabric technology. This is usually how I've seen every one of these trends kind of roll out. They kind of move into a good impression, and it's usually followed by years of education, case studies, proof points that people start to understand it better, and it moves more and more into a valuable expectation. So data fabric is following that trend just like all the other ones before it. Now, this is, you're going to see this kind of a slide. It's harder to read, so what I'll do is I'll just explain that on the left-hand side, there's one set of questions that I would ask about what do you believe are the most valuable outcomes from a data fabric? And then on the right-hand side, what are the biggest challenges that you have to overcome to adopt this in your company? So while organizations recognize that the transition makes a considerable effort, right, the potential for enhanced analytic capabilities, operational efficiencies holds significant promise. Because when we look at these, kind of on the left-hand side, the benefits, right, improved insights and understanding was the highest. But look at the rankings. They're all really close, right? They're all within 1%, 2% of each other. So it's not like a big, kind of breakaway answer here until you drop into right outside of my first tier. But all of these, improved data accessibility, improved data management and quality, reduce and eliminate silos of data and data duplication. Asked that one because I thought that might be a breakout answer. A lot of people think of fabric as, kind of a nice fabric or semantic layer about all of their different silos that they could make it view as kind of one place. But here it comes in just as part of the group. And improved data data governance and security. Number one challenge to overcome, migration from current or legacy data architecture, adoption of new technologies and platforms, and then data governance and security. So when I look at those, I think that's pretty good because you're able to overcome those. Those are technical problems, right? So something like, hey, yeah, it's going to be a lot of work to migrate to a new architecture. It's why we don't do it very often, to migrate into the cloud. And a lot of people are saying, hey, this is what I work on all the time. We're going to do this upgrade or this migration or modernization project. And then in that, we want to go to the latest kind of current state architecture because we're not going to do this again for a while, right? And doing all of that change, multi-year type of thing is a very hard effort to migrate away from the current architecture. So for a data fabric, most people believe there are strong benefits that holds a lot of promise. And we have some technical architecture work to overcome to get there. Now, when we get into a fabric, I wanted to drill into all the different components that people think about are in a data fabric. So components believed to be necessary, right? Once again, I'm going off a respondent's kind of understanding of a data fabric. Number one, and it kind of breaks out there, is data virtualization. So, vendors like Keynote are strong in this space because for those moving to a data fabric, right, business definitions and data access, data catalogs don't have the data access part, but data virtualization vendors do. And then it drops into number two with data prep, metadata activation, and then data ops. Now, and then knowledge graph, that's kind of holding where I would expect it to. So then I drew a line there at 28%, which is not familiar enough to say, which means at this point, I know that the ones below it are getting pretty fuzzy, right? If more people are saying I'm not familiar enough to say than those bottom three, then I would take those with a little bit more grain of salt. So I'm summarizing this as a holistic approach, right? Focus on flexibility and efficiency. That's what they're viewing the fabric components are for. Importance of metadata and governance. Now, let's drill into some of these platforms specifically. Same kind of approach, data quality. Here we've got the data platform expected benefits, improved operational system processes for data quality. Number one, clear. Okay, what are the challenges to overcome? This was surprising to me. Difficulties with data ingestion, integration, and publishing. So for a data quality platform, which, right, we're moving through and processing a lot of data, and we have to measure it against data quality sets of rules within those frameworks, the actual ingestion of the data and the integration is the number one obstacle they feel like they need to overcome. The second grouping, I just put them all together because number two, developing a business case, I had to throw that in there. Because, you know, hey, I like this, but I can't convince anybody to approve the budget for it, right? So that comes in number two. Lack of processes, yes, with data quality rules and policy management is always a process you need to have in place. Lack of engagement of stakeholders, define rules, maintain rules, support the process, and lack of data ownership. So all of those kind of make more process and people-oriented challenges to data quality platforms. But the first one was clearly a technical challenge. So next one, master data management. Here we drill into, right, building, the biggest value is building a 360-degree view of a single source of truth, right? It could be for customer, product, suppliers, or employees, of course, but that is, you know, the clear number one benefit. The other ones that did not come in at number one, the ability to master multi-domains, synchronizing operational systems for process efficiency. That's the original definition for master data management, right? Let's get a golden record and let's keep all the operational systems synchronized. And so then downstream in analytics, we get the benefit of that. But, right, MDM as a trusted source, in the early days, operational synchronization was its purpose. And now it's kind of, you know, dropping down that list. Feed high quality trusted data for analytics. And then we get into unsure. The biggest challenges, okay, once again, difficulties with data ingestion, integration, and publishing, a technical one. Implementations are considered too complex and costly. That's what I always run into in here at companies, but it's believed to be a big challenge for them to overcome. Now, I would think that the next ones are, you know, lack of engagement from business stakeholders and lack of data ownership. Those are the challenges I would have expected to be at the top of the list for MDM. But they kind of come into this second category. Of course, that building a business case for approval does make the grouping as well. And then I also wanted to drill into data catalogs. So here with the data catalogs, top benefits, right? Helping users understand data context and governance, finding the right data for AI and analytic initiatives. So those are the top benefits, and the top challenges are user adoption, time to value, low data literacy, and users not comfortable to work with data, which is interesting for data catalogs. Now, I will say that my own experience with companies that have been implementing data catalogs, and I have seen some companies get a year into their implementation and unplug the data catalogs. And the number one reason is people just aren't using it. I am working with companies now where we're actively promoting, building campaigns, emails, training, all around community and user adoption. Because in order for that to be successful, we know this is the number one challenge on that list. Time to value. Of course, if you're going to roll in a data catalog, people are going to say, where's the value, right? And it's one of those critical mass types of things. Once a lot of people get using the data catalog, once a lot of people are adding comments and reviews and more information or metadata about the data, that's where it becomes valuable, but it's down the road. Low data literacy is interesting because we saw in the early one with data management that data culture kind of comes in at number 2. And we know that as part of data culture, data literacy programs are really to lower the barriers so that everybody in the company is comfortable working with data, finding data, trusting data. So this shows that there's still a lot of effort that needs to be done around kind of the data culture and data literacy side. So this is data catalogs. They came onto the scene a few years back. Analytic catalogs are kind of the newer one that I've seen in the last maybe 3 years, 4 years. And we talked about this on Tuesday, but the difference between the data catalogs and the analytic catalogs are simply that data helps you, data catalogs are showing you what data is getting used, what data is available in the enterprise. But even if you took a data set and built it and delivered it, how many hundreds or thousands of reports are being run off of that? Maybe correctly, maybe not. Maybe in Tableau, maybe in Power BI, in different tools, right? You don't have a governance around the analytics. You can build a piece of data once, but it could be used hundreds of times by different analytic or BI tools. So analytic catalogs are geared towards helping manage that. So in this case, the biggest benefit, help users search for reports and dashboards in one application. The nice thing about analytic catalogs that I've seen and I really enjoy is, one, I can go in and say search for sales, and then it will help me find all the dashboards out there or reports. I don't have to go build yet another report if there's one that already exists. What's really interesting is that when you're in an analytics catalog and you say, oh, I'm curious, what does that look like? You can click it and it brings up that report or dashboard in that native tool. Tableau, Power BI, Click, whatever. I don't have to have a license for it. So it does have a viewers built in that you can see all of these reports in one place. And this really helps people to find an existing report without having to build another one and put it out there. Helps users understand context and governance. And then the second category, the benefit includes all BI tools, right? Click, MicroStrategy, those are other ones. SSRS, throw that in there. But yeah, it's one place for all the BI tools in your company. Shares usage information, which report's being run most often. And then the challenges, user adoption and awareness, again. So both data catalogs and analytic catalogs suffer from user adoption because it is yet another tool in our stack. And users are like, I didn't know about it. OK, when do I need to go over here? And this is kind of the problem of proliferation with a lot of the tools where users have to do a lot of context switching. I'm in one tool, and then I've got to go into another tool, and then I've got to go into the data catalog to look for something. Then I come back to the work that I'm doing. And that's one of the things that people really don't like doing. So for us, the data fabric is supposed to really, in years to come, eliminate a lot of that because you will be in your work, and a lot of the data and the analytics and metadata will all surface itself in your work process. No more having to switch applications. So I know Microsoft has a Fabric out there, product, but it's hard to say that there is really a kind of data fabric product on the market. It's a bundle of services from Microsoft, but in the next coming, I'm going to say 3 to 5 years, we can expect more and more development around the Fabric to happen and for it to actually become more and more of a singular type of thing. So we don't have to jump around like this. Now, one of the other big keys underneath the Fabric space is active metadata. So getting into data that you can metadata that actually is meaningful and helps you do something with it, right? Improved data governance and monitoring is the #1 benefit people are expecting. If you have the metadata about when it's being queried, used, processed, it should help us with all of the monitoring, improve data quality monitoring, increase trust in the data with processing information. So trust is still a big theme for us. Now, the big challenge is lack of knowledge in analyzing operational metadata. That's true. The data observability vendors, that's, you can see here, active metadata and data observability, that's the space that they're in. They have tools that go in and kind of facilitate analyzing all of that data for you. Lack of standards and definitions about operational metadata. We kind of talked a little bit about that in my session on Tuesday, right? How we just want to get people started in a process of capturing the metadata. And then getting data engineers to do this in the pipelines. So there's a lot of work to be done here, still in the active metadata space. Data fabric, analytic catalogs, data catalogs and analytics catalogs. There's more about user adoption and rollout than anything else. Active metadata is just about making it happen. So when we look of all of this, data fabric, and I wanted to check on this in the survey, but it continues to hold promise. They're still viewed as a lot of benefits with some challenges that need to be overcome. A lot of it is going to be education, but in case studies, as it's a new technology. We weren't talking about this 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So with that, you've got to say, yeah, for people to say, hey, that's something I want to move complete environments to, it's going to take, hey, I need to see more information. Who else has done this? How's it working for them? So we prepare by understanding. I always try to position understanding what are the potential benefits viewed by people, and then what are the leading obstacles for them to overcome. So around, if you're doing a data quality platform, understanding those will help you kind of prepare for tackling challenges head on. Master data management's the same, catalogs, and then active metadata. So this can at least, when you're getting into implementing any one of these tools that you're working on, perhaps this year, you would say, these are the expected benefits. That's what we communicate in business cases. And then we're going to be proactive about dealing with those challenges. So to wrap this up, one of the things I will say is, here's just some information about the survey itself. We had 251 qualified respondents go through the process. A lot of people kind of drop out because we have a lot of dropout questions if they're not qualified. We did run this a couple of months ago, so this is pretty fresh data. 95% of the respondents were from North America. So we don't always get that number, but this time we got a pretty high number for North America. And 55% of the respondents said that they are in a data management function. So if you guys are in the similar role, you can get a feel for, hey, maybe this is kind of applicable or comparable to your companies. So also, the companies that they're from, the sizes and employee counts, you can see if this is also comparable. The largest group annual sales at 24%, like by far, is in the $1 million to under $100 million range. So a lot of these companies are what I would consider the medium or middle-sized businesses. 5 billion or more is the next category. 100 million to 1 billion comes in at 13%. So going up from the 100 million to 5 billion, that is the second category. And then you start to get into smaller ones. The bottoms here, right? 1 billion to 2 billion, 2 billion to under 5 billion. So based on your company, right, where do you fit in that? You can get a feel for how it matches these results. And then employee headcount. So you can see here, less than 250 employees was the largest at about 22%. 20,000 or more employees came in second. And this does happen in the surveys quite often, where we get this kind of less than 250 or more than 20,000. Those two seem like extreme ends of the scale, but actually all the time our surveys seem to come out with those two being the majority of the respondents on the surveys. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. I hope, after a couple of days here at the Data Summit and learning a lot of stuff, this keynote is really about closing it out with something that's more about hey, what are people actually doing with all this stuff, right? Here we're all learning, getting lots of new information and things, but the survey is really geared towards helping you understand what you're working on, what your company's working on, and what everybody else is, and gives you that kind of perspective that you can take away. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you very much for hanging out at the end of the Data Summit with me, and I hope to see you again next year.
Yes.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll take questions. Sure. If there's
So if anybody has questions for John, this is your opportunity. How many of you feel that what his results or resonates with what you are experiencing in your organizations? Yeah? Okay. Independent validation there.
And like I said, the survey is going to get officially released in a couple of weeks, I think maybe 2 or 3. So you'll probably, through the network on the Information Today side, get a copy of that. You'll see it for download. But these are some of the highlights from that report. Okay.
What interests me is that you found things that surprised you.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, you're so into all this. And didn't you, when you do these surveys, don't you sort of think, oh, well, I probably know all that already? But that's not what you found.
What's interesting is that we all carry our own biases. I know I have some, maybe I'm too pessimistic or, you know, too in the weeds about stuff. So I always like doing these surveys to get actual data that says, here's what people are picking. And it's really about asking the right questions in the right way. But yeah, it's always interesting to me that I would have expected AI to be higher, because that's what everybody talks about, or I talk to. Or certain categories or different roles. I'm like, why is that so much lower? So it gives me almost a quick sanity check about, hey, here's what I'm thinking. You know, sometimes it's funny, you know, as a research and advisory firm, all the clients that we have, I always have to remind myself, these are companies we work with because they're looking to us to solve a certain question. What about all the companies that don't work with us, that aren't looking for the type of stuff? So it's like lots of companies out there are looking for different things. So surveys are great for getting that, you know, kind of perspective.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing all that knowledge with us, and thank all of you for coming to the Data Summit Conference, and we do hope to see you all next year. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.